Good afternoon, and thank you for joining the demonstration video for the patient queue or marketer queue. This would be how to enter new patients. This is for a Teledoc clinic user. In order to start a new questionnaire, you would click on the upper right-hand corner on the patient queue button and click Create New Questionnaire. On the screen that pops up, click the Start button on Telemed CGX as follows, and it will begin the questionnaire. At this point in time, you'll see a demographic information. So you're going to want to enter the person's first name, a last name. Date of birth obviously is very important with regard to eligibility. You're going to make sure you have accurate information here with regard to date of birth. There are rules that are based on age requirements. You're obviously going to select their insurance and then enter a policy number for that insurance as well. Typically, if it's a Medicare patient, it's typically their Social Security number, but please verify that information. In the relation to policyholder, most often it's self. If it's another policyholder, such as husband, wife, things of that nature, you're going to want to put that in there. And I'm just go ahead and putting in a preferred contact number. Obviously, that's made up. I'm going to go ahead and put also an address. This is also very important because based on the state location that these folks are located in, it is going to automatically select a physician based on that state. So if you look, I selected Alabama, and if you notice down here, Teledoc Physician 2 was then selected. Again, we are in a demo portal. You will not have an option to change the physician. It will automatically appear for you. If the patient does not qualify any further, you can click the cancel button in the upper right-hand corner, and that will take you back to the beginning. At this point, we're going to go ahead and click next, and it's going to ask for basic information. Ethnicity and gender are required, obviously, for eligibility purposes. We're going to go ahead and just make up some questions. Questions in Q1 through Q5, you would need to phrase those in a way that's a question asked to the patient, not exactly read what the words that are on the screen. If a patient answers any of these 4 questions in an affirmative, you would check the box to the left. If they answer Q5, meaning adverse reaction to one or more drug combinations, you're going to enter their prescription medications as closely as possible, as accurately as possible into the green box here. So we're going to go ahead and just add that in there for these types of information. So then we're going to save and proceed to step 2. You're always going to ask this. You're going to also ask to be confirmed. You're always going to click confirm as well. This is now the personal history section. If the person has any personal history of cancer, you're going to click the Add New Cancer button. A box will appear with all of the cancers that are relevant to this questionnaire. You'll see the questions and you'll see the types of cancers that are relevant to this questionnaire. They should be, these are the hereditary cancers. There are a lot of very specific technical questions that need to be answered accurately. So it's very imperative that these questions are answered correctly. Most cancer patients will know the specifics on the kind of cancer they have. And so I'm just going to demonstrate that for you real quick, especially in the breast, which is your most popular cancer, unfortunately. The age of diagnosis, they're going to know that. They're going to know their type of cancer. So these types of cancers here, invasive ductal, invasive lobular, DCIS, bilateral, or some other type of breast cancer. Patients are going to understand and know what this means. They're going to give you the correct answers. ER, PR, and HE2 are the proteins that are in their system with regard to that breast cancer type. So they're either going to be unknown or they're going to be positive or negative. I can assure you this is also important with regard to eligibility. So it's important to ask the patient these questions so that they understand what you're asking. What's the proteins? Are you positive, negative? What are those tests? The patient who has a prior history of breast cancer are going to know and understand these questions. That's why you should just ask them as they appear. So in this case, I'm just doing a demo patient. We'll go ahead and put them in here. We're going to do that. Now, under cancer type, this is extremely important. This is the box that addresses the location of where the cancer's at. So there are very specific information as to where their cancer is at. And you can see all the different choices here. So if somebody has a malignant neoplasm, which essentially is a fancy word for cancer, you're going to want to know where the location of that cancer was. So if you can see here on my screen, malignant neoplasm cancer of the upper inner quadrant of a left female breast, it is very specific, as you can see. More specific information is better, and again, it relates to eligibility questions. You're going to want to make sure that you do that immediately and do that accurately. I cannot stress the importance of having an accurate cancer location here because it relates to assisting the doctors with the diagnosis of this patient as well. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and click this one. I'm going to go ahead and click done. If a patient has more than one cancer, you can keep clicking the add additional cancer button to add more, just like you've done for the first type of personal history. If you notice here on the left-hand side, the list of all the cancers you may have added is along the left-hand side. As you add more cancers, obviously this list will grow. Just by way of example, let's go ahead and add an additional cancer. Let's add an ovarian. We're going to add that information, and I just want you to see again the specific questions. Age of diagnosis, extremely important. Which type of ovarian cancer was it? Again, the patient's going to understand this as you're asking them, what type of cancer did you have? What was the location? You're going to see, obviously, malignant neoplasm of right ovary, malignant neoplasm of left ovary, that's going to be right and left. You have to discern which one is accurate for accurate diagnosis purposes. As you can see here, it all appears here then on the left-hand side. If you make a mistake and add the wrong cancer, you can obviously click the trash button on the left, which I'm hovering over at the moment. If you make a mistake on the details of the cancer, you can click the edit button, also on the left, and change the details. Once you're finished adding a personal history of cancers, you would click the green button at the bottom, save and proceed, and then confirm to proceed to step 3. So under the family history section, which you are now in, this relates to family history of cancer. Family history works very similar to personal cancer. If the patient has family members with cancer, any family members with cancer, you click the Add New Cancer button. In this case, we click this. The box that appears will contain all the possible family members. And we'll ask a follow-up screen, will ask for more information. So you're going to collect the appropriate family member that has a history of cancer. You're going to click next, and it's going to ask you for additional information about the type of cancer your family member had. What type of cancer did your mother have? Again, we're going to click ovarian. Here you see this list of check boxes. There's very few items that relate to family history of cancer. Most often, you're going to see these boxes automatically checked if there's only one selection. If there's more than one selection, you will see multiple selections there, and you're going to have to select the most appropriate and accurate question of that list of questions. Obviously, age is also important. We're going to need to know the age that family history had cancer, and then living or deceased. The person that you're speaking with is going to know the information. They're going to be able to communicate that effectively to you. Again, a history of cancer, both personal and family, is a very traumatic event. They're going to understand and know the details of that cancer very clearly. Once you've finished entering your family information, you're going to click done. It's going to have another pop-up box here that's going to ask you if any other family members of the relative have a history of cancer. If the agent chooses an uncle that had cancer, this screen is now asking from the perspective of an uncle who else had a history of cancer in the family. Example, uncle's mother, mother's sister, mother's brother. Those types of questions will then appear as it relates to this question. If they do not have any further history of cancer, you would click no, and then you would click save and proceed to the next step, just as follows. This screen is for the sign and confirm screen is for the marketing agent to sign, confirming everything they've entered in the questionnaires on behalf of the patient is true and correct. Once done signing, you would click Save the Signature and Continue button at the bottom. So this is for the marketer. Again, you save and click Continue. It's going to ask you to re-enter a password. This is for user ID purposes. You're going to complete that. So you've now completed the questionnaire. You're going to proceed back to the patient queue, where you should see that patient that we entered. Here's our test patient. They entered right here. We have a summary, and you see a green complete button. So when you're in the patient queue, you will see a new line item for every patient that you've entered sequentially. Under the eligible column, which is right here, if there's a green complete button, which all three of these patients are showing green complete, the patient was eligible for testing. If there is not a green button here and there's only a red remove button, this patient is no longer eligible for testing. You can click the blue summary at any point in time to see the details of this patient and what they were eligible for. If the patient's not eligible, you do not need to do anything. You can just leave it in the queue. At this point in time, if the patient is eligible and you want to continue, in order to send that to the Teledoc or for review, you would click the green complete button. So on this patient here, our test patient, all you need to do to submit the patient is click the green complete button. You're going to confirm, and that patient will then disappear from your queue. I'm going to do that one more time. In order to select the patient and send them to the physician, you're going to click the green complete button, click confirm, and then that patient has then been sent to the telemedicine queue. If you have any further questions with regard to this demo, please do not hesitate to contact us. This should be fairly self-explanatory. Please review the video, watch the video, and ask any questions you may have. Thank you very much. Have a great day.